Playing a serial killer. No matter how cruel someone is, there's always a reason. When a person becomes a serial killer, it is usually a response to heinous physical, emotional, and/or sexual abuse they endured as a child. A child is powerless to respond to the abuse because of size, authority control and reliance on the abuser for money, home and sustenance. However, when the child becomes an adult, he then has the power to avenge the abuser. There is no greater power that a human being can have than to have the power over whether someone lives or dies. A serial killer's victims almost always symbolize their original abuser. When a killer murders his victim, he feels he is finally winning his power back from the person who took it away. Because the person being killed is not the actual perpetrator of the abuse, the acquired power is momentary. And because the relief is fleeting, the serial killer, like a drug addict, chases this high by killing again. His, or her, killing becomes essential in maintaining his sense of control and power. Thus, a series of murders are committed, and a serial killer is produced. Case in point is the infamous serial killer Ed Kemper. Growing up, Ed was tormented by his mother. She accused him of molesting his sister, and of wanting to rape the co-eds on a college campus. She verbally abused him and locked him in a suffocating, windowless, dark and damp cellar filled with vermin so that he wouldn't harm anyone. All this for crimes he didn't commit. Then, when Ed was old enough to fend for himself, guess what he did? He raped and killed. Who? Yup, those very co-eds his mother had unfairly imprisoned and chastised him over. His first victim. His mother. Ed beat her to death with a claw hammer, cut off her head and carefully extracted her larynx, the part of the body that gave his mother the capacity to shower Ed with her brutal accusations and hateful admonishments. And then Ed had sexual intercourse with the detached head. He was punishing her sexually, the equivalent of being punished for sexual crimes that he, to this point, had never committed. You have to be aware of the manner in which your character kills, because it is always fraught with symbolism that makes sense and matches the childhood abuse that was inflicted upon the killer. More often than not, sexuality plays a key role in a mass murderer's modus operandi. Why? Because both killing and sex involve power. For a killer, murder is an aphrodisiac. For most murderers, even if there is no actual sex, the act of killing is sexually stimulating. So arousing, in fact, that it often reaches the point of orgasm. When playing a serial killer, the act of killing can be compared to a seduction, and should be performed that way. Another aspect of being a serial killer is that they don't just kill upon contact with their victim. Like a cat with a mouse, there's the joy of the hunt, playing with his food, before the murder is committed. This gives the killer additional power in watching the victim squirm and beg. A serial killer will say and do things that push the buttons of the victim until the victim retaliates, with behavior similar to the original abuser. This enables the killer to justify his murder. In the killer's mind, the victim actually deserves to die. There's a stunted emotional growth and a childlike quality to a serial killer. Their traumas are often so severe that their development is arrested and they remain emotionally very immature. Mature adults rationalize their history so that they can emotionally survive life's dilemmas. A serial killer doesn't understand this and, like a child, acts out, immaturely striking back without thought to the act or its repercussions. How does that relate to you, someone who is a rational adult? All acting is taking a fraction of who you are and turning it into a whole, so you can become and live the character on the page. Everyone has homicidal urges at one time or another in their life, but few actually act upon them. You have to look at your life and the times you felt the homicidal urge. Who caused it? In the fantasy land of acting, you get to have the upper hand for a change by taking someone from your life that you feel has abused you horribly, preferably someone from your childhood, but it could be an abuser from your more present life, and killing them in your performance. The symbolic substitution for your victims may stem from childhood issues, such as dealing with someone who abandoned you when you were a child, sexually molested or raped you, beat you up emotionally and/or physically, didn't protect you from someone who abused you, emotionally, sexually or physically, humiliated you in vast proportions, or from your adult issues, such as dealing with a person who stole a mate away, maliciously sued you, hurt someone you loved in a hideous manner, viciously abused you, was your mate, but had sexual intercourse with someone near and dear to you, had you fired or caused you to lose your job, lied about you with disastrous results. All these deeds deserve to be punished. And as an actor playing a murderer, it's payback time. Formula for organically realizing the mindset of a serial killer. Identify your most potent abuser, the one you'll use as a substitution for your victims. Then figure out the best, most pleasurable way to take your revenge. In other words, what manner of killing, in your fantasy, would be equivalent to what was done to you. Then, viscerally fantasize about doing exactly that to your substitution. Feel the joy of getting your power back, both emotionally and sexually. Let it elate you. Let it empower you. Look at the actor who is playing the victim, knowing that everything you've just experienced in your mind will soon be physicalized. Let it go. Symbolically killing this person, within the confines of acting, should give you great joy in your newfound power over someone who has, in the past, cruelly had it over you. Reminder, don't ever judge your characters. Even serial killers feel their behavior is justified. Making your victims into substitutions for the major abuser in your life makes your homicidal act appropriate and valid. What would seem to the healthy adult as sick, evil and immoral now seems to make more justifiable sense.